Branching off what we have done in previous videos, which is use GCP's RAG engine to set up a backend RAG, we now have a full stack front and back end implementation of a vanilla RAG. So what does that look like? Well, this can allow us to use this small web app to learn how to play one board game at a time. That one board game is configured and hard coded into the back end. In future videos, we're going to take an agentic approach to learn how we can support more than one game, but let's see how it does. So currently it's configured to teach you how to play the Pokemon TCG, which is then going to follow up with what you can do on your first turn. If you read through this, it is pretty accurate, and then you can kind of just follow up and ask secondary questions because it does keep track of context history. So what did we do to set this up? Well, originally we just had this backend API and a RAG engine to generate the answer. And really all we did was layer a pretty basic front end on top of it. So this is just a React server that leverages Prime React that sets up this container on the outside, sets up a title, and then creates an array of messages. And that is both what you're saying as well as what the bot is saying. And it updates those messages when you actually call the send message function. You can call a send message function when you hit the send button, and that's what reaches out to our backend, our ask route, and sends the query over, and that query gets retrieved here. It gets passed into our generate function, and then our generate function, if we look at that, is what we actually use to set up an LLM, tie basic information into it. So that's like parameters that are commonly sent, tools. This is actually where our RAG engine is with our selected data store. The data store is how you could configure different databases. So right now, this data store is just referencing the Pokemon TCG, but you could set it for that today, maybe chess a different time, whatever. And this currently only supports one at a time. You add the previous context, so that's my previous questions as well as the bot's previous answers into this LLM, so it knows the context, and then you return that answer. We then clean that answer to translate it from Markdown to HTML. We send that back over to the front end, and then the front end just displays that by adding it to our messages, which then gets rendered in that container. So what do we want to do next? Well, like I said, we're only supporting one data store right now because one data store right now is essentially one game. One game, games are really similar. What can I do on my first turn? That's very similar for pretty much any board or card game. You're going to have that question, but every answer, depending on the game, is going to be different. So we have to find a better way to select which game we're going to use, and that's why we're going to make the jump from a vanilla RAG here to the agentic RAG.